people have started taking it seriously for COVID, where we are after COVID when it comes to the worldwide mental health ratio.
Post-COVID, the mind could get affected was something that was thrown into everybody's mind suddenly, and by not something that is directly affecting you. A lot of people had many difficulties in life, but all of that put together, ultimately, how it affected mental health was there was a massive surge in terms of awareness.
From childhood, maybe there might be some traits that might be visible, but people who commit these kind of things and they are not all worried about, they don't have any regret, and to top it all, they love it.
These are the ones जो society as a format को समझ नहीं पाते. Zero empathy. They have complete lack of emotion in that regard. Whether it is hurting somebody, whether it is hurting humans, the concept of society as a framework does not register in their head.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
How are you, sir?
I am very well, sir. How are you?
Sir, just want to start our conversation with, we can keep in Hindi, English, anything that is comfortable. So, I think more or less we want to talk about the mental health, because I'll tell you the reason why. Because we are into that community building thing wherein we want to have a like-minded people coming together and addressing a particular thing. So hence, we came up with the Wellness Heroes as one of our property in which we worked upon. And when we say wellness and not only health, the reason being because the tagline of that property was the healthy mind can run an unhealthy body, but unhealthy mind can't run an unhealthy body.
Wonderful.
So the thing was, we wanted to also focus, apart from health, there are many things that impacts your health, and hence we came up with wellness. And as we promised in that particular thing, that we'll keep this conversation alive so that people keep thinking about it, working on it, and feel well in their life. That's what the whole agenda was. And I think this is the first time that we are having a conversation with you, and we are happy to have you on the show.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Sir, just coming on the mental health part of it, do you really think that it was existing in this society, and after COVID suddenly people have realized that people have started taking it seriously, or how is it, sir? Where we were before COVID, where we are after COVID when it comes to the worldwide mental health ratio?
I'll answer it this way, that the mental health issues always existed. The journey changed definitely after COVID. So what happened was that, let's say, post-COVID, the mind could get affected was something that was thrown into everybody's mind suddenly, and by not something that is directly affecting you. So it was the perception that something might happen, and that triggered a lot of things. Yes, a lot of people did lose their lives, a lot of people lose their businesses, a lot of people had many difficulties in life, but all of that put together, ultimately, how it affected mental health was there was a massive surge in terms of awareness. Sudden awareness about health, first health and then mental health, definitely. So if you keep COVID as a transitional landmark, what we see post-COVID is, by Indian standards and data also, roughly 1 in 5 to 6 people suffers with anxiety after that.
Okay.
And that's a massive data. So we're talking of around 20% of the population, roughly 20%, 18 to 20% of the population having clinical anxiety, of which not all, but most or many seek help. Many still don't believe it. Many still don't believe they are having a problem. They believe it is, हम जैसे कहते हैं कि भाई इसका स्वभाव ऐसा है, इनकी सोच ऐसी है, ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा हड़बड़ाते हैं, बट क्यों इस तक हम नहीं पहुँचते? तो yes, as a wellness part, we all have now started speaking about it. As a wellness part, we all have started using the word mental health. However, I always keep on saying in my speeches last few days is that our awareness is increased. Probably acceptance is still way long to go to accept that there is mental illness in my family, or there is mental illnesses to somebody I love. that is still a distance or a bridge that
So if somebody has it, he'll still be uncomfortable.
yes, they will be comfortable to say that yes, depression exists. They'll be comfortable to say हाँ आजकल बहुत लोग डिप्रेस हो रहे हैं, बट मेरी बेटी डिप्रेस हो रही है ये शायद वो नहीं मानेंगे, या मेरे घर पे मेरे भाई को डिप्रेशन है या कोई और मानसिक बीमारी है, ये थोड़ा एक्सेप्ट करना आज भी डिफ़िकल्ट है. अवेयरनेस है बहुत ज़्यादा है शायद कुछ मामलों में, जो हम शायद इंटरनेट या बाकी चीज़ों में जब बात करेंगे वी विल डिस्कस अबाउट दैट. सो इंफॉर्मेशन बम्बार्डमेंट हैपेंड इन कोविड. द इंफॉर्मेशन एंड अवेयरनेस ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दिस हैपेंड इन कोविड. A new world which we all got used to in terms of working, work from home हो गया. Basically digital world changed the dynamics massively in terms of mental health also post COVID. So that also played a massive role.
So even the reaction towards this has changed. Basically, previously people used to react in a different way, you know, in certain situations. तो इफ़ आई से दैट कि अर्लियर इसको घबराहट बोलते थे कि यार घबराहट हो रही है. सो नाउ रिएक्शंस हैव चेंज्ड बिकॉज पीपल नो अबाउट इट एंड दे आर worried about it. Am I falling into the same line or I am okay? Is that confusion still there?
Okay, I'll answer it this way. Historically अगर बात की जाए तो मान लीजिए 1950, 1960s में क्या होता था कि आपको एक गिलास पानी लाने के लिए 5 किलोमीटर चलना पड़ रहा है. अब अगर मुझे उस टाइम पे एंजाइटी या डिप्रेशन है और मैं बोलूँगा नहीं मैं पानी नहीं ला सकता मुझे डिप्रेशन है, कोई नहीं सुनने वाला. उस टाइम के लोग तो 2-4 लगा देते कि जाओ पानी लेके आओ, क्या होता है डिप्रेशन. बिकॉज आपकी लेवल जो थी बेस लाइन वॉज अबाउट सर्वाइवल. आज हम उससे कहीं ऊपर आ गए हैं, इसीलिए इमोशंस को भी वैल्यू है, फोकस है. दूसरा जो चेंज आया हिस्टोरिकली इज़ इन दोज टाइम्स 1950s 60s में पूरी तरह पागल जिसको बोलते थे उन्हीं लोगों को साइकियाट्रिस्ट के पास लिया जाता था. उस ज़माने में ना तो दवाई थी ना फैसिलिटीज़ थी. जो दवाइयाँ थी जो लिमिटेड थी उसमें स्लीपिंग पिल्स का ज़्यादा रोल था. इसलिए एक कॉमन मिथ हो गया या कॉमन बिलीफ हो गया कि साइकियाट्रिस्ट के पास आप जाते हैं तो सुला के रख देते हैं. उस समय शायद कुछ हद तक ये सच था क्योंकि बाकी दवाइयाँ ही नहीं थी.
शॉक्स भी थे.
हाँ, पर वो उस ज़माने में सर कोई और ऑप्शन ही नहीं था ना, क्या करेंगे. तो वो उस कुछ हद तक वो इन्फॉर्मेशन वो टाइम पे वन कैन से इट वाज पार्शियली ट्रू. नाउ व्हाट हैज़ हैपेंड इज वी कम टू द एरा वेयर देयर आर न्यूअर मेडिसिन्स, देयर इज एवरीथिंग. कमिंग टू द अवेयरनेस एंड द क्वेश्चन यू आस्क्ड, टुडे वी हैव 2 parts to it. One part is over diagnosing, जहाँ we call it TMI, too much information. That's a term we use, that the person is flooded or over flooded with too much information, too much research, too much information, which actually is not necessary. To a very great extent, if today, just giving a silly example, I decide कि मुझे एकदम suddenly एक TV channel चालू करना है, मैंने Google पे डाल दिया how to start TV channel, I will not be able to start it. It is common sense. But same way, people want to do over research, over everything is over, and then in that over means over reported. In that zone, they call loosely terms like depression, terms like anxiety, terms like PTSD. आज का सबसे कॉमन और फैशनेबल टर्म है ADHD या ADD, अटेंशन डेफिसिट डिसऑर्डर. तो कॉलेज के बहुत सारे यंग बच्चे आते हैं हमें ये खुद ही डायग्नोस करके कि भाई मुझे ADHD है इसलिए मैं परफॉर्म नहीं कर पा रहा. मैं पूछता हूँ कि आप कौन से एज में हैं लाइफ के, तो बोलते हैं फाइनल ईयर इंजीनियरिंग. तो इफ़ दैट पर्सन हैड ADHD वो वहाँ तक पहुँचा कैसे? तो मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि उसको अटेंशन की प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि बहुत बार इन शब्दों का प्रयोग कोई बेनिफिट से भी होता है, कभी कभी ओवर रिपोर्टिंग होता है, एंड बहुत बार जिनको सच में दिक्कत है वो एड्रेस नहीं करते. So what happens is if there is over reporting, it becomes a diluted or a casual word. But genuinely where help is needed, if they don't take help, it turns into stressful situation because the illness continues to increase. So yes, I'll repeat myself that awareness has increased. Right awareness, maybe not. Acceptance certainly still is a problem.
Okay. So is the response of society also changed?
Yeah, dramatically, and that is a very positive sign.
Okay.
See, the response of society where it has changed is at least towards coming to the doctor.
Okay.
Earlier, taking help was considered taboo. taking psychiatric help was considered as good as you are gone crazy or you have gone mental. Now that has changed a lot. So now, yes, people are accepting of all age groups, because now India being a prosperous country, we have people whose lifespans have increased. So illnesses of old age also, mental illnesses of old age also are what we see. From there to children related illnesses, पूरा spectrum आप देखेंगे, लोगों का acceptance definitely बढ़ गया है. So in terms of going to the doctor, but as I said, to reach to the doctor, it can be done a little earlier, was my point in terms of acceptance. But as a society, yes, we definitely have changed. People do accept. I see in terms of lot of young couples where before marriage people are taking counseling, before marriage they are approaching, and if one of the two partners is taking treatment for depression, earlier that would have been resulted in a non-moving ahead और शादी हो शायद नहीं करते वो. आज वो खुद ही देखते हैं ठीक है सिर्फ एंजाइटी है, आगे बढ़ जाते हैं. ये भी एक्सेप्टेंस आज बहुत कॉमनली सोसाइटी में देखा जा रहा है, विच इज़ अ वेरी वेरी गुड साइन, वेरी गुड साइन.
That's really nice. Once we accept it, then it's easy to solve the problem.
Definitely.
Acceptance was missing earlier.
Yes, acceptance was missing.
Doctor, coming to the two parts of this question. In last almost a decade, we have seen, and these questions are two different dimensions altogether. One is towards the kids, today's kids, and the other is towards the professional life that people are living today. When it comes to 9 to 5, EMI is on board. So, and they both are into different age groups. They both are into different dimensions altogether. One dimension is into education, very into much of stress because what they are going through and the steps that they are taking. Because being a media house, we do cover some heartbreaking things wherein we see that small issues are there which is going in the head and they take abrupt action, which unfortunately ends up into a very end of a life. And the second thing is in the professional life also. People are into this particular pressure, but is this mental health do affect the productivity of the person?
Massively.
So these, I'm sorry that these two are completely different questions and two different dimensions. So kids is basically towards understanding that how suddenly this has become so big and they're taking actions. Which was not the case earlier, because I'm sure there might be cases, extreme cases, but when it comes to taking its own life at this particular tender age, is a bit unlikely. What has changed? What has changed is certainly reporting of it. I do believe it was probably happening before also, but certainly has changed in terms of reporting. The second thing that has changed is, I am not saying we have become softer as a generation, but tolerance towards stress has changed dramatically. Okay.
So by design, sir, we are designed biologically to handle stress. So our brains are primarily focused or designed anatomically to handle stress. That is how we survive. So essentially जो flight या fight reaction होता है is a neurological reaction. So we are all designed for that. However, the kind of exposure that today's generation has, I will definitely say that the threshold for stress has reduced. Now, there we will have to go into a little more detail without generalizing it. It is not that the generations before never had stress. Any generation, they had different stressors, but probably that kind of liberty, that kind of focus, and that kind of attention was not provided at that point of time, merely because there was no choice. आप काम नहीं करोगे तो आपको पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे, आपको पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे आपका घर नहीं चलेगा. ये प्रिंसिपल इतना सिंपल था कि आपको वो चॉइस ही नहीं था. हाउ यू फेल्ट वॉज द लास्ट थिंग पीपल asked. So it's like that Maslow's pyramid where the baseline was survival, food, shelter, hunger, then going up, in terms of biological drives and all of that, safety, security. But now that we have gone, today's generation has all those basic things that they need. But stress of any kinds today, in terms of exposure and tolerance, that has definitely changed. Number one. The second is that the awareness of a transition in terms of illnesses. Let's say all of those who attempt or commit suicide is not a very random act. There is always a lot more involved in it. Let's say family history, difficult childhood, exposure to substances. That kid definitely or may have a mental illness, and then circumstances. So circumstances might contribute. They never or exclusively cannot be the causative element. मान लीजिए कि I am bullied in the school, मान लीजिए कि I am bullied in the class or online. Along with that, if my family environment is bad, along with that I have a self-esteem issue, along with that I am depressed, and on top of that this happens to me. All of them are correlated, and at one point of time this can happen. It could be an impulsive act, it could be an act under illness, it could be an act under influence of substance, or it could be related to many other factors. However, it is, like I said, it is very uncommon, I'm not saying rare, uncommon, that it is a random act. Lot of times there is something called as suicidal gestures. So suicidal intent is where I will say, I don't feel like living anymore. But a suicidal gesture will be where I will ask you right now, how much rope will be required to hang from that fan? Now this is a random question. Why is this guy asking? This is where part of my mind is wanting to live but cannot communicate. I'm just giving a gesture. Or I might have come to the doctor and ask that you have given me medicines, but how many are required actually where I will not wake up again? It's a gesture, it's a subconscious way of it is just communicated without, it's a hint. So definitely there are gestures which are not picked up a lot of times. Going it a little further, there is a differentiation between violent death, death under, let's say, burning, train ke niche aana, where definitely psychiatric illnesses play a role. Whereas others, there could be, like I said, many other factors which will play a role. Now, coming to the first, there is no 9 to 5 left anymore, sir. There is at least shift of 11-12 hours that people are putting in everyone.
But before coming to that 9 to 5, pardon me, I'm just extending that question. There are also these theories that goes that earlier, maybe Gen Z's, 80s, 75s, comparatively we had a stricter parents. Comparatively, I'm sure I'll not generalize it by saying that everybody was, but I'm sure few lucky ones might be having. But most of it had a bit of a stricter parents, and they've given a lot of heartbreak to a child saying, "यार ये चाहिए वो नहीं मिलेगा, खुद पढ़ के ले, खुद करके ले." That point of time, the heart definitely breaks. I wanted, no, he has it, why I can't have it?
Yes.
Is that the reason that small heartbreaks helps you to be stronger? Or coming to the current generation now, things are very easily accessible, easily given, easily. I'm not saying that we should be stricter, but there is a perfect parenting?
No, there is no perfect parenting. There are different styles of parenting, but I will see at a foundational level, what I will say is every parent will want the best for their child.
Agreed.
All parents, whatever generation. The second part is where you're saying the word stricter should be replaced by, let's say, liberty. Okay. Now, the difference here that is massive is the generational gap between previous generations was not that much. Whereas with this new age, forget the parent and the child, between the siblings also there is a massive gap which they can't relate to. So the world is changing faster than what you can cope up with. So what happens is the frame of reference, I'm talking in a very generalized way. If you were raised to say that fine, ultimately what is good life? A good life is to have a house here, is to have you having this type of car and your children studying in this school. That was definition of a good life to you or was taught to you. Suddenly, if the frame of reference is changed into compared to people in New York to compared to people somewhere else, then this frame of reference becomes very small. So that in terms of a parent is very difficult to match suddenly.
Agreed.
Now the change that has happened generation wise is that a generation achieved through struggle what they wanted and believe that our kids should not go to the struggle
Agreed.
event.
Agreed.
There is a other generation which is I will not say type of parenting, who are themselves so occupied in their life that they, I will not say don't care, but don't pay due attention to the children,
Agreed.
which has definitely increased. In the change wise, which has definitely increased. Either they are involved, either they are completely not bothered. There are still parents who completely authoritarian, in authoritative way control everything that is happening. But the number has certainly changed. With regard to the generation, definitely, because they are getting everything, there is a big vacuum they have is, why should I be chasing anything?
I'm getting.
Yeah, if earlier your dream was to get a house, if it's already there, then I don't want to do anything. That is the loop that we are seeing, which is increasing massively. The other discontent में नहीं बोल सकते, but misdirection, what I will say is, earlier you had very limited choices. कोई engineering कर रहा है, कोई media कर रहा है, कोई doctor बन रहा है, तो उसमें limited choices. Today, conventional education is being challenged massively by this generation, because there is no guarantee of success because you did a particular type of education. So conventional education being challenged makes you question everything, which is what we need to correct at that level. That education is not only to become successful, it is to become a good citizen also.
Citizens also. True.
So that is where the other change is. The good point that you mentioned, sir, is about exposure to struggle. Unless you expose them to struggle, how will they learn? Now, for example, if there is an exam and everybody comes first, तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं हुआ सर. Yeah, there is a cricket match where, or there is IPL and all the teams will win. Who will watch that IPL? There is no competition. The idea here is to generate healthy competition, healthy stress, so that one's performance improves. Sensitivity improves towards handling stress, and yes, that is why the word that a generation like ours would use is kids should be rough and tough. We don't mean that they should do bad things. We mean that they should be able to take failures in life. So yes, exposure to failure, the coping mechanism, right coping mechanism to handling it, and that time being as a parent to be there. So the best way to answer that is, let your kids make mistakes while you're there, so that they learn right way how not to make them ahead. That is what I would say on that.
Now we can come on that professional 9 to 5.
Yes.
जो रहा नहीं है, which
Yes.
you're right.
Yeah.
So do you think this particular thing also impacts the productivity of the person if he's mentally not, like, no, he's not feeling well, he's healthy, he's done, but somewhere something is bothering him?
ठीक है, we will generalize it, sir. So let's divide mental illnesses, proper mental illnesses अलग से, which we will not talk about. Let's talk about general wellness. अब wellness में भी anxiety होगी, depression होगा. The idea of being mentally fit is to experience everything, being able to take care of everything. ऐसा नहीं है कि भाई कोई पैदा हुआ तब से till death कोई सिर्फ खुश ही रह सकता है, तो फिर भाई उसको mental health की ज़रूरत है, help की ज़रूरत है. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. आप सारे emotions अनुभव करके उनको हैंडल करना राइटली इन द अप्रोप्रिएट वे इज कॉल्ड एज हैविंग मेंटल फिटनेस. अब answering the part of, does it affect performance? Absolutely. Let's say I am talking to you right now and I have, let's say, a flight to catch in 1 hour. Now part of my mind will be saying, when do we finish? For some reason, if there is a delay, my body language, my way of functioning changes, and after a little while when I realize that it is getting too close to my comfort to get that flight, my answers will change. Because cognitively my energy is going into worrying, not into answering the questions. ये एकदम छोटा एग्जाम्पल है. अब मान लीजिए कि there is a constant stress in my house. It could be financial, personal, interpersonal, social, whatever. If I don't act on that stress, it is only going to pile up. and it is going to take away energy, because that is limited, from my performance, from everything, and eventually turn or become a catalyst to form a mental illness. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say this is a glass. If I ask you to hold this glass straight, how long will you be able to hold it? Let's say maximum 5 minutes. चलिए आप बहुत strong है, let's say you will hold it for 10 minutes. और 1 घंटे बाद हाथ दुखने लगेगा, आपको straight पकड़ना है जी, fold नहीं करना है. 2 घंटे बाद बहुत ज़्यादा दुखने लगेगा, और शायद 5 घंटे बाद आप ग्लास ही फेंक दोगे कि भाई आई कांट होल्ड इट एनीमोर. यहाँ क्या हुआ है, आप सेम हो, आपका स्ट्रेस सेम है, सिर्फ एक्शन नहीं लिया गया है. सो द सेम स्ट्रेस इवेंचुअली बिकेम मोर एंड मोर बिग, multiplied to a level where it broke your hand. Whereas all that you had to do was just move your hand or put the glass down, and this would have never resulted to that level. So this is where we need to be open to this idea that if we are undergoing stress, let's address it, and that can easily be solving things at a much primary level. So performance, ability, the best, we are all trying. So let's say, why do we like Virat Kohli? Why do we like Sachin Tendulkar? Why do we like great tennis stars? Because they are achieving best of human potential, which is what you and I also want. That's why we are their fans, that they are able to achieve the best of their potential. I'm talking only sports, but it could be acting, it could be anything else. They are achieving. That's why we idolize them. Human potential का best, अगर वो भी हमारे जैसे ही humans हैं. We are not able to do that. Not comparing success here. I'm comparing the ability to do that. Is because they can concentrate. So let's say, taking example of cricket again. All players, I'm sure, at least the ones who are playing IPL, would be practicing same. One would become better than the other. The only difference there is how they handle pressure. What makes them great is because they are training with the same kit, training with the same machine, training with the same coach, training for the same number of hours. God-gifted skills and talent apart, what differentiates them at a common man's level is their ability to handle stress. And that's the game changer. So yes, your life can completely change if you are able to handle that pressure. It's true for you and me, true for them as well.
So coming to this, this outburst of the, in any age it comes, right from the childhood to whatever age that they're talking, it reaches. Now this outburst ends up into a crime. So what do you think, how does it work? That it's out of their control, their actions are out of their control. Somebody thinks that they want to do it, but what makes a normal person different than the somebody who takes that? And half of them might repent, half of them they don't even repent and they enjoy this. So how does this happen?
Now, if we talk of that in terms of, especially in terms of violence today or actions in terms of illegal activities today, we see a predominance in youngsters. There is a massive rise in young people indulging in crime. Now, that is psychologically attributed to 2-3 things. One, people want children, I won't call them children, youngsters want things very fast. Second, is they idealize things in a very different way. So if their idol is somebody who is driving a car with 50 people behind him and that is that man's role model, he wants to become that way, whereas he does not understand the consequences of what he's doing. There is one other element where these people, lot of these crimes are happening under the influence of massive use of substances. So it is very, very rare that all of these, most of these are happening in full consciousness without any indulgence in substance. So what happens is, when you take a substance, I'm not talking of alcohol. Alcohol now for today's generation is the least of everything. We are rampantly वो मतलब कुछ है ही नहीं जी. तो वो अल्कोहल की क्यों बात ही नहीं कर रहा मैं, मतलब गेटवे ड्रग जिसको बोलते हैं कैनबिस. तो कैनबिस is rampant. There is all the above is very rampant. And then lot of times they don't understand what they are doing. There is disinhibition of judgment, disinhibition of consequences, and that leads to a lot of actions which, like you rightly said, many might regret. However, there is also a very big a certain number of people who don't. But there is classically element of personality disorder, जिसे हम हमारी भाषा में स्वभाव दोष कहेंगे.
Okay.
अब इसमें प्रिडोमिनेंट एक टाइप होता है जो क्लस्टर बी टाइप पर्सनैलिटी आता है, जिसमें 4 टाइप की पर्सनैलिटी आते हैं. एंटी सोशल, विच इज सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी. एंटी सोशल, क्यों करना है भाई, ऐसे ही करना है, मुझे सिग्नल पे पत्थर फेंकना है, ट्रेन के ये तोड़ने हैं, क्यों कर रहे हो आप, कोई आंसर नहीं, तोड़ना है बस. Fun out of things which are destructive
in nature,
essentially, and against, antisocial, against the rule, against the law, against authority. Second would be borderline personality. अब ये borderline होते हैं between normal and abnormal. इनमें कुछ types होते हैं impulsive, that is अभी चाहिए, अभी जाना है, अभी ड्राइव पे जाना है, अभी बॉम्बे जाना है, अभी दिल्ली बाइक पे जाना है. अरे यार रात के 2 बजे है, आप नहीं जा सकते, नहीं, इम्पल्स है, करना है. तो दैट इज़ वन टाइप. देन दोज आर इमोशनली अनस्टेबल, जहाँ पे इमोशंस उनके स्टेबल नहीं रहते. इसके साथ यू ऐड फ्यूल ऑफ सब्सटेंस, वो तो पूरा गड़बड़ी हो जाएगा. देन देयर इज नार्सिसिस्टिक एंड हिस्ट्रियोनिक. नार्सिसिस्टिक मतलब हमेशा मैं राइट, आप रॉन्ग. ये जो होता है, यहाँ पे पेरेंट्स को बहुत दिक्कत होती है, क्योंकि वो समझता ही नहीं है, कोई भी समझाए कि भाई ये गलत है, गलत वो मानता ही नहीं है, क्योंकि उसके नज़र में वो खुद हमेशा सही रहता है. हिस्ट्रियोनिक मतलब टिपिकली सीन इन फीमेल्स, ड्रामेटिक नेचर में चीज़ें करना, ड्रामेटिकली लार्ज उसको बनाना, वो हर एज ग्रुप में है. नाउ डेज वी फाइंड इट इन यंग विमेन ऑल्सो, वेयर वी गेट केसेस वेयर द गर्ल कम्स एंड सेज मुझे PTSD है, विच इज़ पोस्ट ट्रॉमेटिक स्ट्रेस डिसऑर्डर. तो भाई हमने पूछा क्यों है आपको PTSD, तो द गर्ल विल टर्न अराउंड से मेरे बॉयफ्रेंड ने कॉल नहीं किया. ये PTSD नहीं हो सकता. PTSD इज इन वॉर क्राइम्स, यू नो, प्रिजनर ऑफ वॉर, ये अर्थक्वेक हुआ है, मेरा सब चला गया, दैट इज पोस्ट ट्रॉमा, ट्रॉमा ऑफ दैट एक्सटेंट. तो ये जो हिस्ट्रियोनिक एलिमेंट्स हैं, ये सब भी बहुत रोल प्ले करते हैं इन गेटिंग थिंग्स व्हाट यू वांट. आई वांट व्हाट यू हैव, आई वांट टू बी लाइक यू, बट फास्टर मनी, क्विकर मनी. सो I'm not encouraging people for any wrong things, but let's say somebody indulges in a bad activity and gets paid 10,000 rupees for that day. To convince that young boy that you follow a noble life and earn that much after hard work of 1 month, they are naturally attracted to something which is faster. Whether it's legal or not, beyond a point, when they have done it many times, it stops mattering to them. That is where we are lacking. That is where the problem is.
So I can understand substances do kill your conscience, do kill your judgments, you know, and actually narcotic is completely different
Big journey.
ball game altogether. And I'm sure everybody is working towards it, but I'll come back to without substance.
Okay.
You know, there are few cases wherein from childhood maybe there might be some traits that might be visible, but people who commit these kind of things and they are not at all worried about, they don't have any regret, and to top it all, they love it. You know, they like harming people, they like doing something which is, and I'm sure pehle bhi ye, the, you know, you just said
Raghu Raman,
Raghu Raman, and all these serial killers. You know, they have been part of. It's not that we are always inspired and think that it's always a West phenomena, but that's not true. We do have our own set of serial killers. So even I'm sure this is a mental thing, you know. But do you think there is some kind of traits from childhood that can be identified?
Yes, they can be identified. First of all, the examples you gave would qualify into sociopathic or psychopathic personality. These are the ones जो society as a format को समझ नहीं पाते.
Okay.
They have zero empathy. They have complete lack of emotion in that regard. Whether it is hurting somebody, whether it is hurting humans, whether it is doing something wrong, the concept of society as a framework does not register in their head. It is pathological. You will not qualify them as normal. They have zero regard for human life, rules, or otherwise anything. How do we identify them? Not all of them are serial killers. There can be sociopathic and psychopathic people who are violent, but may not be serial killers as such. That is a different criteria of people. But how do we identify from before is certain traits like inability to mix with people, harming animals.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Like a child would normally either be scared of an animal or will be petting an animal. He will not go and burn an animal. Okay. Or he will not go and kill a small bird, which is completely inappropriate to that age. So seeking pleasure in doing such activity, because the child is small or the child is young, he is not in a capability to inflict harm on an adult, but he can certainly do that to younger children, younger than him or her, or animals. So doing such things, deriving pleasure from that, indulging in setting fire to things, not as fun, but as something with complete disregard to what is going to happen. So inability to mix with people, actions which are dramatically inappropriate and violent to a certain degree, ideas or thoughts which may not go in keeping with what is happening towards their age group things or their age group related thought process, all of them are massive pointers. See, childhood is a very big spectrum where we can see multiple illnesses like mental retardation, problems of learning disorder, problems of ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, autism. So it's a big spectrum. Classically what you are referring to are childhood disorders which are onset वहाँ है लेकिन वो express होंगे teens में या old, थोड़ा सा elder than that. Adolescence also is a very big period where we see lot of problem in terms of that's the time when hormones are playing a big role. That's the time when they are neither independent nor dependent. ये जो teenage का phase है, यहाँ we see expression of many mental illnesses, influence of peer pressure, influence of substances, like I said, slight amount of or lot of amount of freedom, and that energy to explore it. All that makes a combination which can be lethal. That is where indulgences in substances, because I'm a expert, indulgences in high-risk sexual activity, all of those things are seen, and then issues related to those also come up.
But don't you think, doctor, that so if antisocial elements who commit crimes, it's very easy to figure it out that yes, he is somebody who is done, his nature is such that he can harm somebody. There are a lot of things that you can identify the personality. But the other part of it is they are very silent in nature. They mix up in the society. They have a split personality wherein they are very normal, and suddenly they do something which brings a lot of rage in the society.
True.
So even society is correct in the way that because they don't understand why and how they should respond to this. It's very difficult because the first thing for any normal human being, correct me if I'm wrong, is a rage that comes in.
Absolutely.
What if it was somebody
related to me?
That is the first question. It starts with fear. What I can tell you and what I have read about it is that if I see any unfortunate event, the first thing it starts with fear. But the fear dies because fear comes at what if. Now that what if has been answered.
Yeah.
Now it is not. It directly converts into a rage. And that rage do come out because we do have social handles these days. We have a lot of outlets wherein we can post our things. Earlier it was not there, so it used to come out in kind of people coming out on the roads and doing it. They are also right in doing what they're doing. But how should society take care of that? Is this avoidable? Can we avoid this? Or no, we can't?
To a very great extent, we can increase the awareness.
Okay.
To a very great extent, we can put in systems where at least the reporting happens better and earlier. Now, because we are talking of child-related illnesses, let's say child sexual abuse, for example, which is a very sensitive topic. See, there are signs which, as parents, one need to start seeing at an earlier stage. Maybe very simply put, child is speaking or doing things which are, for that child's age, sexually completely inappropriate, or which one should wonder that how did that child pick up this information from, where this information is coming to that child from. Sudden change of behavior, sudden isolation, sudden aggression, self-harming traits, a completely very distorted kind of image of life, sudden fear. I'm talking all of this with the word sudden is because it is after an incident.
After an incident.
And in a child's case, or in that age group, first, there is inability to understand. Second, to understand what has happened to them. Second, there is inability to express, limited ability to express. And third, there is a, let's say, undercurrent of guilt that is this my fault? So the child with limited ability to express will not be able to communicate. Unfortunately, we know by statistics and records that a lot of times these people who commit this are either relatives known to that family, known to the family, known to the person, or is in association with that child or in any form. So it is something that it is not very rarely, or not very rarely, but commonly there is some form of association, like a relative, like somebody they know, like a neighbor. So there is some association which exists. So in all of this, once we start seeing that, let's say the child is saying, मैं वो uncle के घर में नहीं जाऊँगी या जाऊँगा. It is not only to girls, it happens massively to boys as well. So वो लड़का बोल रहा है कि मैं वो uncle के घर में नहीं जाऊँगा. One should not say कि force them, अरे नहीं जाना ही चाहिए, वो तो आपके लिए टॉय ला रहा है, आपके तो ये कर रहे हैं. First is, why would he say that? अगर वो कुछ दे रहे हैं इनको, तो as normal child should be open and more than willing to be greedily having it. These are things as a parents one has to have awareness. Secondly, I believe we have brought in mental issues as a curriculum, almost as a curriculum or as a facility to schools, where there is the concept of school counselor practically in every school now.
Agreed.
Every school now there has a school counselor. So at a primary level, जिसे हम first aid बोलते थे, वो तो पक्का मिल जाता है कि that a child can go and talk to somebody. Same way I believe sexual education should be a part of curriculum.
Okay.
Not just what sexual organs are, but what is sexually inappropriate behavior, what is a bad touch, good touch. We talk to children, we tell them, but let it be a part of, at a systemic level, a part of teaching. It has to be something that everybody knows, so that the boys also don't do it what they are doing, knowingly or unknowingly, because they know now, everybody knows this is considered as crossing a line. That is what we certainly can do. I will still definitely emphasize, teachers can't replace parents. Teachers are handling many children. They are there, they are doing their best. But what a parent would see in a child, that the teacher may not be, because the association is different and that closeness is different. So yes, the first sign should be picked up by the parents. And definitely there are, like I was mentioning about suicidal things, there are clear-cut signs where something like this being happening, the child will either go into a shell, go into aggression, suddenly start behaving in a different way. And if the child is too small, like I mentioned, starts talking or exhibiting acts which are, in terms of sexuality, completely disproportionate to the age. With that regard also, extending it in a little, there are, let's say, convicted repeated offenders who do it for whatever reason. There are people who are suffering with pathological condition, like a pedophile, who is mostly attracted, if not exclusively, attracted to children which are prepubertal. It can be only attracted to them, it could be mostly attracted to them. But that's a pathology. there are, again I would say, there are people who would have a urge, मतलब उसको सोच आएगी, शायद वो उस पर एक्ट नहीं करेगा, और ऐसे होंगे जो उस पर एक्शन लेंगे. ये एक्शन जब लेंगे वो क्रिमिनल और हार्मफुल ही होगा, तो उसको कोई सहूलत नहीं है. बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज, ओरिजिन कहाँ से हो रहा है, इसके लिए बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स हो सकते हैं. That is what is something we will have to look into in that regard.
So already you have touched this topic. So what do you think that as a society, as a country, which direction should we move on? Because as far as limited knowledge that I have about this, because if somebody is into similar kind of a crime, people do mark them.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the people and in which area they are. So there is a data available that in this particular area there are so many people of a similar kind. I'll not use that term because it has not been, but they keep marking of these kind of people who are committing this heinous crime.
Yeah.
So I can understand because the population is very less there. Per million. The cops that ratio is quite healthy out there. Over here it's very difficult to maintain, but still individual policing, that I can say, if we can work on that, and because something has to be done, doctor, because this can't, because somebody will have to take it, or else this rage will take a different form altogether, and we have to move in the right direction in that case. So I'm understand that where you come from. I'm sure you meet your patients, you have your experience in this, and there are other people also who will play a very valid role in this particular thing. But what do you think an individual who is living in a society can do to bring a certain small change?
See, we are bringing, as a society, we are actually working towards doing a lot. Unfortunate, very, very unfortunate that still incidences take place which are putting our entire society to shame.
Yeah.
But let's say that there are acts for crimes against children. There are acts which are brought into the working styles in office now. We are bringing in things which are there where awareness is certainly increasing about the entire thing. What I would say that as a society we could do is we can go a level further and introduce the same in schools. There could be an anonymous zone where they can report. There could be, let's say, a monthly or a 6 monthly situation where they can openly report if any such incidences have happened. When we create a platform, maybe initially there might not be a response, but definitely over a period of time, when that platform exists, people may start reporting. The second thing is, as a society or as parents, what one should do is never hesitate to communicate. See, if we are ashamed to communicate to the child, where will the child go? The information they will get ultimately is either through internet or through their friends, which is ultimately not going to be exactly correct. Let's put it that way. It depends on what they are trying to seek for. So what is important is the child should feel most safe at their own home. They should not feel that I cannot talk this to my parents, or I cannot talk about this to my parents. You can be direct about explaining this. You can be direct about telling them. You can be direct about basically empowering them to the knowledge that their body is their own. That is an autonomy they have and a choice that they have. I am not limiting it to age. That can go on for anybody. But as a society, once we start getting aware of that, these are things, like I said, we have already in process of inculcating many things without naming the acts which are already existing for crimes against sexual action below 18, crimes in society in terms of office or corporate culture. They are already been implemented. There are, like I said, there are things which are being done, but we are seriously falling short, which is evident. As a society, like I said, we be aware. We make our not only daughters aware, but our sons also aware that this is something that you should never do, but you should at least, if it is happening somewhere, report it to your parents. That is something, as I said, if you start as a school curriculum, people will be more open, more aware about what is right, wrong, real, false, allegation, whatever it is. All of that unless they know, there will be only information, no knowledge, which is what we will as a society need to change.
Now we can discuss and we can. I would like to end this up by just one question that do you think that a very harsher law, a really harsher law, will bring real impact?
Implementation of it might.
Okay.
Implementing a law and making a law are two different things. Even if we implement the ones we have today, I think there is enough that can make a difference. But see, it is as a society, completely as a society, is how we respect the law, is how we respect and look at a very simple thing from civic sense to the law will be reflected in all our actions. I'm purely talking as a society. So if you're not respectful towards small things, the bigger things are going to reflect the same way. So making the law harsher, will it change things? It might, only if it is implemented in the right way. So that is where I think the crux is. But I believe yes, there should be a deterrent for such actions. There should be a strong deterrent for, as a society, that we put across where such things should not happen. And as children, they should be educated, and we should provide them that safety net. That safety net as a society we should provide them, so that they are free to approach and not worried or ashamed about reporting it to anybody.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for giving us time.
Thank you, sir. I hope